who has been in top form for quite some time in the world of chess. He's crossed 2800 ELO on published rating. Only 16 players in the history of chess have managed to do that, and Arjun is one of them. His calm and cool and kind approach often keeps him under the radar, but he is an incredible talent. And the clocks have been started. Shamsiddin Vokhidov, his opponent, rated 2644, is here. Shamsiddin sits on the board, plays e4, adjusts all his pieces and starts the clock. A handshake here. Shamsiddin has been in not so great form in this tournament. He has had 2 draws and 2 losses. So this would be definitely a game where Arjun will try his best to win. But it is black pieces for Arjun. Knight comes out to c6, and it will not be very easy to put Shamsiddin under pressure with this opening, when you play e4, e5. But the thing about Arjun, guys, no matter which opening he plays, he always tries to be ambitious. Knight comes out to f6, attacking the pawn on e4. The main line is, of course, castles here, and Shamsiddin goes for it. He shot castles, and Arjun now goes for d6. The main moves here are bishop e7, and b5 followed by bishop c5 archangles, but d6 has made Shamsiddin think a bit. He goes c3. He's trying to build a center, and taking this pawn is very risky because of d4, opening up the position with the king still in the center. So Arjun goes bishop d7. Very interesting. Arjun playing slightly offbeat or forgotten lines so that his opponent is thrown off a bit. Now d4 played, and g6 is on the board. Now one thing you have to understand is that if you take here, I take back, and if you take on e5, then after de, whenever you try to win this pawn, I will go and win your pawn on e4. So it's not a pawn that you are winning per se. Rook e1 played here, defending this, and Arjun is still pretty okay getting his bishop out. The pawn is not hanging on e5. So h3 played, and I believe Arjun is going to simply castle now. So here we have a fresh position with bishop on g7. Doesn't happen very often in the Ruy Lopez, but that's what Arjun is all about. He's looking for new ideas, fresh positions. Knight comes to d2. And now there's a real threat, I believe, on the e4 pawn, because e4 pawn is defended. So e5 might be under pressure. Arjun takes on d4, and now look at how he changes the structure. cd, giving a very solid center to white. You usually don't do that. But Arjun, with his time being 1 hour 30 minutes, 31 now to be precise, is still in his preparation. He's offering a trade of bishops, and the knight wishes to jump to d3. Bishop takes on d7. And now queen takes d7 is very normal. Yes, he takes it back. Queen takes d7. And we have some famous games in this position. Caruana, Naroditsky. We have games played by strong players here. Knight goes to f1. And the way in which you meet this is c5. You push your pawn to c5 and you break the center of white. That's what Arjun does. And a question for white is, should he push the pawn right now? Not a great idea, because c4 and the knight settles down on d3. So first, Shamsiddin pushes the knight away from b4. The knight has to go back to c6. And Arjun calmly brings his knight back. And now maybe it's time to strike with d5. So gaining space and pushing the pawn. The knight goes to a5. And now you want to expand on the queen side with b5. Bishop d2 played, hitting the knight here, but inviting the knight to come to c4. Arjun started to think a bit. Well, not really. He's moving quickly. Could he still be in his preparation is the question. There's no games that have been found in this position. Bishop comes to c3 on the beautiful diagonal and defending this pawn. b5 by Ajubai. Going with a queen side expansion now. And Shamsiddin goes b3. He's been playing great chess. He's keeping a small edge for himself with the white pieces. Knight jumps back to b6. I love how Arjun very calmly is playing. He's at 129.57 after 18 moves. So all his prep. Queen d2 played. Now eyeing the a5 square, connecting the rooks, putting pressure on this diagonal. Like it. Maybe rook e8. Yeah, Arjun putting his rook. No, a5. What the hell? Arjun is giving up a free pawn here. Maybe knight e4 is his idea because this is hanging. But take. This has to be assessed. It's actually playable. But Shamsiddin is like, Arjun, I trust you. I'm going knight g3. But this allows b4 now. So Arjun, this a5 move which he played after 12 minutes of thought. And now comes a4. Another good move. Gaining space on the queen side. Rook takes a4 is the idea. Placing the other rook on a8. b4 played here by Shamsiddin. What he's trying to do is he's trying to now force Arjun to play c4 so that he gets the d4 square. But Arjun says, I have the c4 square for my knight. I attack your queen and the knight is well placed. A very important moment now. Taking here gives up the d4 square. White also wants to take and free up the central pawns. But rook e8. Arjun is like, look, if you take, you'll never be able to play e5 easily because d5 is hanging. So maybe Shamsiddin can bring his rook to d1. No, he goes knight d2. This is not a great idea. This is in fact a bad move here by Shamsiddin because this knight was needed to go to d4 whenever the pawn comes forward. But if you are going to go back to d2, that's slow. And he goes knight e5. I like this move by Arjun. He attacks the queen. And the thing is, if you move the queen, I go c4 and knight d3. Bishop takes e5 taken. And now there is a small intermezzo, an in-between move, which is c4 played. Yes, excellent move. Pawn to c4, attacking the queen. Queen c2 played here, brings the queen back, and now rook takes e5. Taking with the pawn also seems fine, but rook takes e5 is the correct move, and he plays rook a d1. And I was just wondering if knight f3 was possible to go to d4, but rook e7, and if you go knight d4, there is knight d5 tactic. Anyway, coming back, rook a d1, Arjun doubles down the e file, puts pressure on pawn on e4, rook comes to e2. And now can Arjun go for some tactics? Knight takes d5, but maybe he has knight takes c4 in mind. So Arjun goes rook e7, just simply brings his rook back. Rook to e7 played. And Shamsiddin comes back, plays his rook to e1, defending the pawn on e4. Queen comes to b7. Slowly and steadily, Arjun's advantages are huge. He has a passer here. He has pressure on e4 with his rook and knight. Knight goes to f3. Shamsiddin still in his mind wants to get his knight here. But there are always tactics on the long diagonal. You can't do it. And in fact, now Arjun stops it very clearly with knight d7, opening up his bishop. This knight could jump into the center as well. Rook e3 played. Now for white, if you think about it, his position is kind of improved to the max, yeah? All the pieces are on good squares. So queen b6 played, the queen comes in on this diagonal. So for a good thing for white to do is wait for Arjun to decide what is to be done, and for Arjun maybe knight e5 makes a lot of sense to trade, but he goes h5. He's improving his position. He wants to maybe later go h4, trade this, play h4. Knight jumps back to f1 and rook c8. Is Arjun planning to go c3? While c3 is very tempting, it will also weaken the pawn a bit. Right now it's very strong on this square. Knight goes to e3 and knight jumps into e5. So knight takes knight, bishop takes on e5, and now the knight goes back to f1. So you have a superior minor piece, you have a protected passer, you have everything flowing for you, and Arjun now says this is the right time for me to push the pawn, and he pushes it forward. Let's see if this is going to help, because the pawn on its own cannot run through, right? Knight e3, the knight may also come and blockade it. What it will need is support from other pieces, and that is not an easy thing to achieve. Bishop to g7 played. Now rook e8 trying to put pressure here, queen d4. So queen comes to d3 and he wants to bring his knight here. h4 played. King to f1, just improving the position. Somehow white is waiting actually, and Arjun has the task of pushing this game forward. If you see the c2 square, it's like completely locked up. We are on move 38. The players have not really faced any time pressure in this game, especially because there was a lot of theory involved. The first 20 moves were played pretty quickly. Queen d7. I believe that Arjun's mind is going towards the move either f5 or g5, g4. Somewhere he has to get that pawn break to move the game ahead. King f8. But also, on the other hand, by the way, 40 moves are done, so both players will get extra 30 minutes. Rook c1. You can see Shamsiddin feeling confident, moving his pieces quickly. King g8. Arjun also making the moves here. Rook e1. Pretty clear that Arjun has not really, tried all the ways that he can. So while he's moving his king back and forth, this is one of the things that strong players do when they are in a superior position, in order to lull their opponent into a false sense of kind of calmness or security. They repeat, and you can see Shamsiddin is repeating. At some point, Shamsiddin knows that Arjun will continue trying, but could become a bit careless. King h7 played. Rook goes to c1. You see the pieces are being moved back and forth. King goes to g8. Rook e1. King h8. Well, it's being back and forth here, but somewhere Arjun is in his mind getting the plan. Queen goes to e8. Look at this reorganization. The queen has to remain protecting this pawn, but now f3. A small change here. Does that work in any way to Arjun's benefit? Not sure. Still moving the king. It's a game of cat and mouse here. Not so easy for anyone to make progress, but Arjun now moves his rook to c7. And Shamsiddin blocks the pawn with rook cc2. King goes to h8. I think this is Arjun's style, you know. Keep making the moves which are like king h8, king g8, and then make a progress move. So like now brings his queen. Then again play king g8, and then again, you know, something like this. But now this is serious stuff happening because queen is already ready to enter on h2 and rook e7. And by the way, just to tell you guys that taking this pawn would have been very risky because the queen would enter on d4. So he played king d1, rook e7, knight goes to g4, and now the queen comes into f4. Can we snatch the pawn is the question, and Shamsiddin does it. Well, greedy. f5 is coming in. And look at Arjun there. Zoning in. f5 played. He's ready. He's ready there. If e takes f5, queen d4, checkmate. Queen is coming in. Oh my goodness. What a move there. Knight f2. Queen jumps into h2, threatening another big problematic move. Queen g1 check. Goes knight to d3. And just like that, you see how the game has sped up. It was going slow, 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 and then suddenly like boom, boom, boom. Now rook e4. Arjun's going to take this rook. Rook takes e4. And what has just changed? Like just this king caught kind of crossfire. The king would have loved to be on a2 at this point. Safe away from, but if he tries to run here, it's mate. So check, by the way. Knight goes back to e1. Has the position deteriorated because g2 is defended? Bishop e5. The bishop is coming to g3. Rook comes to e2. And now bg3. Yes, finds it. Attacking the knight. Threatening bishop e1, rook e1, c2. King comes up to c2. There was just no way to stop it. And Arjun has just like that won a piece. Wow. Queen d7. Shamsiddin is like, okay, this has helped me coordinate a bit. Now I'm going out on an attack on your rook and the pawn on d6. So rook g8 played. Arjun just not leaving the rook. Finally leaves it. After a long thought, correct move, rook g8. Black is better. But now Shamsiddin can win a pawn. Queen d6. Important to keep control here. Queen f1. I love this move. Attacking the rook. Stopping any checks on f6. Queen e5 check. And king h7 is a great move. He plays it. And king comes to d3. Pawn to c2 played. Wow, what a move. You can't take, of course, it's pinned. You can't take here. Rook is hanging. Queen c7 check. He wants to pick up the pawn this way. Arjun goes rook g7. And this is just incredible thought by Arjun. Giving up the pawn to open the c file. You can't get your rook here, but you can with the bishop. And now the rook is entering here. It can enter down here. The king is all alone. What a game by Arjun Erigaisi. Guys, this is just unbelievable. Shamsiddin stops the clock, resigns the game. Arjun plays an absolutely stunning game and has scored a powerful win over Shamsiddin Vokhidov. Definitely one for all of us to enjoy for many, many months and years to come. And Arjun now moves to 3.5 out of 5 at the Uzchess Cup. He is now half a point behind Nodirbek Abdusattorov. And on the live rating list, he has pumped up his rating a bit to 2783. Just 1 point behind Fabiano Caruana, looking to reach world number 3. Of course, Arjun is very much capable of doing that. And we'll be very excited to see the last 4 rounds of this tournament. You can see one of the things on Arjun